I went down for a second. Anyway, what I was saying is it's really helpful to have really good lighting, and so you can see that we're well lit even if we would be in here in the dark. So this is Hunting Stars, and you can tell she is not nearly as furry as our friend Lucky is over there. Joy's quite, she gets very dense hair, but not very tall hair. So you can see, if, I don't know if you can catch this, Mallory, or not, but I clipped her yesterday, and you can see how I sort of left this at the top of her mane, so I can show you how I cut in the top of her mane. See how I sort of, so I went up here like this with the clippers, okay? We were talking about different clipping types you can do. This is basically a blanket clip, and again, this is something that you might have seen over my equipment, is tape, right? So if you don't do a lot of clips and you don't want to do this freehand, you can tape off where you want things to be. And you can see sort of with this piece of tape, oh joy, how it kind of went down. Sorry about that, Joy. So you can see that. So this is going to leave the top of her back. I usually cut a small arc here. I do that freehand, okay? And then I come down here and I leave a little bit of a path, and then I go up and around. Let me show you how I put the tape on so you guys have a feel of it. Can anybody else tell us where they're watching from? Come on, guys, talk to us. Love hearing from you. So I use electrical tape. You can use masking tape. You can use duct tape. You can use whatever kind of tape you want to use. So I will go to the top of her tail head. Okay, so here. And I sort of follow her butt cheek down. And then match into that line. Okay? So everything in that line, I'll cut out. So I'll work on that in just a second and show you how we do that.
You stop broadcasting.
Am I stopped now? We restarted. My husband's here. Neil.
Maybe you have. I told me you were.
It still says live. There's 17 people.
Well, we've started again. Did you see if you can see us again? We started again. If someone's out there and can tell us they can see us, that would be great. Okay, so let's come on over to this side. Hopefully we're broadcasting still. It's always nice to know that Neil's watching.
Yep. I can see you.
Okay, we're good to go. Sorry about that, guys. Like I said, there's a little bit of a delay. So you can see here, I've already put the tape on her, and this is what we would call a trace clip, right? So it's the underside of her neck. Usually you don't do their legs. You would cut the leg in like we did on Lucky, and then you would cut her her belly, like I did a little bit of her belly, but again we'll show, and it'll go right here to just the start of her stifle. Okay. So in terms of doing a cut like this, like I said, this would be something for a horse that isn't doing as much work as, let's say, a competition horse. Isn't going to be ridden a lot. A lot of riders in the winter will use quarter sheets, and this sort of helps you not have to use a quarter sheet because the horse's back stays warm with the hair that they have on. Any questions? Anybody joined us back yet? No. Valerie's mesmerized by this whole process. All right, Joy, let's show them how we cut everything. All right, so back to our clippers. Oh, our line came undone. Okay, since I haven't done any work on Joy yet today, I'm not going to automatically go and start working on her neck because That's sort of a sensitive area and I want to do a good job with that. So I'll start just a little bit on her neck here, her shoulder, and you can see, like I said, she doesn't have a really thick coat, but she does have some hair. So again, if I'm going to make a line straight up, a lot of times I will just cut the line a little bit in front of where I actually want the line. And again, you can't absolutely, unless Valerie's doing a bang up job, which she might be doing, see where that line is, right? And you can see that that line is actually pretty good down here. So when you're trying to finish it, what you want to do is sort of tip your blade to the side so you get the edge. You see how the edge came in? So that's actually not too bad a line. So I'll probably keep that actually. Just a little bit right here. A little bit right here. And then I might be able to neaten those up with the little clippers. Alright, so let's talk about the mane. You can see Joy is blessed with a very thick mane, which is great. But it does go everywhere. So again, when you're doing the mane cut in, what you want to do is you want to get rid of sort of all of this, the neck hair, because you want to be able to do this sort of in one easy straight swoop. So what I generally do is I go up, like I did last night, up through here, and then I'm going to keep going. Mallory's got a question though. What's your question, Mallory?
Trista asked if that is electrical tape.
Yes. That's exactly what it is. It's colored electrical tape. Alright, so here we are. So what you do is you push the mane over, and again with all of the cut lines, what you want to do is leave yourself some room so if things go really wrong, you can come back and fix them. This is not going exactly the way I want it to go. Joy. So I try to push the mane over with my hand. Usually I'm slightly better than this and I can do it with one fell swoop. But you can see there, I've had to come back and clean it up a bit. So that's not actually a bad line there. Okay? So let's come back and let's talk about funny and tough areas. So where their hip is, right? This hair all grows in all sorts of different directions, right? And it's a very ticklish area for the horses. So you want to be careful with the horses here because sometimes they will strike out and they just get tickled, right? So again, I usually try to do this ideally with one stroke. Okay? Knowing that the top of the toy. The top of the arc is going to be the middle of her hair. You know, the middle of that swirl. Okay? And then you just go down and you finish it up in here. Okay? And then for this part, you go straight down. Okay? And then you can come back and you can clean that up a little bit. Good girl. So now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so I'm going to push her back so I can see her in the light a little bit better. There you go. All right, so the same thing here, right? This is a very ticklish area. So again, you'd like to be able to do it with one stroke, and you'd like to start a little higher than you ultimately have to be. Okay, so there you go. Now, when you're doing the belly, you wanna, I always start a little bit high on their bellies, like I don't immediately go underneath their bellies because I don't want to be picked. But you can see how you can start and then you can go underneath their bellies. They're very sensitive in this area back here. So you just want to be aware of that as you're working, right? The other thing is, you will see people stand about right here, trying to avoid getting kicked. If you've ever watched any boxing or been involved in a fight yourself, the biggest force, the most damage is going to be when someone has extended their arm or the horse their leg. So I am about in the worst place that I can get to get the most hurt. And so what I really want to do is I want to be in close to the animal, because the worst thing that she's going to do here is push me away, right? She might grab me a little bit, but she's probably not going to hurt me if I'm real close to her. If I'm here and she gets me, you know, potentially she might break my leg, and at the least case scenario, she's going to bruise me up pretty good. So we're going to keep clipping here, and you can see now I've got to match my line up here, but her hair doesn't grow that way, so it's hard to cut a line in, right? So I'm going to do that. Sort of go this way a little bit. Okay, so again, that's not a bad straight line. It's a little bit lower, but it's a good line. So I'm not gonna try to be a perfectionist and be like, oh, it's gotta be on the line. It's another reason why I like to clip everything, because if you clip everything, you don't have to be really good about being on the line. Okay, so there you go. Okay. So you may have noticed the clippers are starting to run a little bit louder. So what you generally try to do is brush them off. And then, like I said, we will use the Cool Lube and just spray them. And you want to do this about, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes into your clipping to keep your blades cool. If you're going to clip a lot of horses, it's nice to have several clippers so that if one gets hot, you can use a different one. With the Austers in particular, they're in a metal casing, and so the casing tends to get hot. And so if all of a sudden your horse that's been very, very good to deal with gets antsy, a lot of times if you feel the casing, you'll find that it's gone really hot. And at which point you need to go and get those that cooler. So I think our girl Joy here needs to pee for a second because she's acting like that. So I'm going to put her in a stall actually and see if she wants to pee. And in the meantime, we'll get David out. How you doing over there, Reese? You want to go over and look at her while I get... Here we are again, back to David. And again, he's one that grows a pretty dense coat, but not a long coat. And so he needs to be done not as frequently as a lot of the other horses, but he's getting ready to do the 5-year-old Young Event Horse Championships. And so for him, we like to have them looking neat and trim and doing their best, feeling their best by being cool. So, for faces, I generally will always use the small clippers. It's just easier. They're cordless. You don't have to worry about the horses being upset by the cord. Okay? Any other questions? Anybody tell us where they're watching from yet? No? Feel free to ask questions, guys. All right, so we're on the big side. So, again, we start from the bottom. You know, you don't want to sort of start from their ears. And he's in a halter that clips off. So for like their cheeks and stuff, you'll see that my left hand is sort of pinching the skin down at the bottom of his cheek. So that is, sorry David. So that his hair actually stays taut. So we'll do that. We'll go all the way, David. All the way around, and then to clean up the cheek. If you have a horse that doesn't really move around quite as much as David, you'll just go up underneath the chin and do that. Hey Reese, can you get me the stool and just come hold him while I show them how we do our ears and our fetlock, foreheads and around the forelock. Again, sometimes you can do all of this with just one person if your horse is really, really good. These horses, I have to say, have been very well behaved. Just hold them on that side. Okay, so what I will start to do is you can see up here, none of this has been done. When I do the top of the mane, like we were talking with Joy, you can see how I'm working on cutting in the mane here. And then, like I said, you start a little bit lower than ideally you want to be, but if you can get a nice straight line, Like that was a pretty good straight line. Still a little low, so I might try to just clean it up a little bit. You can see that goes really well. Now most horses have a whorl in the center part of their neck. And when they have a whorl on the center part of their neck, that means you're going to be going down to your left on the top of their neck on the right side, and you're going to be going up to the right, okay? Any questions?
Paige asked, do you do anything special after clipping to keep them from being itchy or annoyed?
Well, annoyed, unfortunately, they just get mints. And then itchy, what we do is we use horse conditioner. It's a great product. We really like it. It's spray on, and we mix it with a witch hazel astringent. And so we will go over them with that and sort of towel that into their coat to make it a little less sensitive for them and hopefully easier. So you can see David's being pretty good here. And we're just carefully going around their ears. Again, it's a lot of noise. You know, you can only imagine if you put this up next to your ears, how annoying that would be. So be patient with your animals. And again, you want to protect their forelocks. So what I generally do, and I do it without even thinking now, is I put my finger across their forelocks. And then I just go right up to my fingers. So that, you know, if for some reason something scared him and he jumped up, my hand would protect his forelock. Do you have another question? Nobody else. All right. Everybody knows how to clip ears, so. All right, so. Good boy. Around the ear, and I tend to do, like I said, I do the outside of the ear on the normal blade. He's being a very good boy. Now for some horses I won't clip the inside of their ears, but that's a pretty rare thing because I think it really finishes the horse's look and makes them look outstanding if they have their ears done. But a lot of horses hate the bugs, and so I would just trim. You can see he actually has a lot of fur. He actually has a big glob of dirt right there. Ear dirt. Ugh, it's gross. And so, you know, he's not one of those, and so his ears will get clipped out. But if you're going to a big show, I also like to do it a couple of, like a week in advance, so that, you know, if there's a problem, you know, we can deal with it. Okay, so basically the whole outside of the ear has been done, okay? And around the top of the forelock, and I'm just gonna neaten this up just a little bit. And the best thing about clipping is it's all hair and it all grows back. So if you make a mistake, pretty much can guarantee you it'll get fixed. Oh, while I'm down here by his eye, I always leave eyelashes. I think it's important for the horses to have those to know where they are. Okay, so for the inside of the ear, switch it to surgical, okay? And then what I like to do is I like to do a stroke down the inside. I almost like to get the feeling that I'm turning their ear inside out. What a good boy you are. And then I do just around the outside edge. Same thing on this side. Sounds like someone's here. They probably don't realize it's Training Tip Tuesday. Now the other thing is, as you get to know your horses, some horses have um, warts in their ear or sarcoids on them, you really have to know where your horse has stuff like that. Because if you're just clipping around and you don't notice it, and all of a sudden you clip over a sarcoid or a wart, they will probably not forgive you for a while. I wouldn't forgive you, for sure. You're okay. You just need to get that last little bit. Can you bring it up a step? Good boy. Oh, come on, David. You're okay. Okay, so you can see David's taking a little offense to just having the last little bit done. Can you just use your hand and put a twitch on his nose? Now, we can try this, and if need be, we'll put a real twitch on. Let's see if David's going to be a good boy. Just let me finish this up. A lot of times you can do it with your hand. We use a twitch with a string and a snap. Good boy. Just take your time, right? All right, so you can see, looks pretty good. Can you see that? Here, put that in there. So that's a finished out ear. All right, so why don't we put him away? And we'll grab Joy back. You can keep going on your leg. Put our stool over there. Joy. And sometimes, like with a horse like Joy, you just need to take a bit of a time out, right? She just needed a bit of a moment, right? She was starting to get fidgety and antsy. And there's no point in fighting them. Most of us can find things that we need to do. Do we have another question?
Paige asked, do you break up the clipping, like doing half of Lucky for a fussy horse, or do you usually finish them completely?
Well, that's what I was just talking about, actually, Paige. And it depends on the horse. It depends on timing. I don't like to spend more than a couple of days doing a horse because, to be quite honest, then the hair grows in differently. So we've got our racing stripe here on Joy. So in this clip, in a trace clip, all of this is kept hairy above her neck. So we don't have to cut in her neck at all. So I'm going to take my clippers. Hi, River. I think River is going to actually not have to get clipped at all because he doesn't have any coat, and his last event should be this weekend. And then he gets a month off. So all of these horses will actually get a month off after the championship, so it's kind of nice. All right, so again, in an effort to be good and have a good straight line, we're going to start as far back as we think we can. Give her a little pat. No, we're there. You're okay, Joy. Okay, so the very top of it doesn't look great, so we'll come back and we're gonna fiddle out this straight line here. And obviously, if you've got a horse that's got more hair, you can see the line a little bit better. With Joy, it's a little bit tough. Okay. Do they need another horse? Okay. So let's see Joy in a second. But let's just come over and look at Lucky and see how. This is Dan. Dan's our terrier extraordinaire. So you can see that just in the little time that Reese has been working, she's done a super job on getting that leg looking good. Now to do the inside part of the leg, she would work from the far side generally. Now when you do that, you can just stay right there, actually, Valerie. You don't want to, you want to clip from in front of the hind leg, right? Because if I'm clipping back here and all of a sudden the horse does that, it's going to snap in the head, right? But if I'm always clipping on the front side of the leg, the worst thing I'm going to do is sort of get a knee, right? So you want to not clip this way, but you want to clip on this side, if that makes sense. The same is true for a hind leg. If I'm working on a hind leg, oh buddy, I want to clip from this way, not behind the horse's leg, right? Because if I'm clipping behind the horse's leg, he can kick me. Whereas if I'm clipping from in front, the worst thing that's going to happen is he's going to move my leg, my arm out of the way with his leg. So Lucky needs to have his shoes done. So he's on the way. He's just come home from Arizona because his owner unfortunately had some health issues. So he is back to be sold. If anybody's looking for a horse, Excel Star, fun guy, very good with the clippers, obviously. Are you good to pick him up? Yep. There you go. And off he goes. And we'll finish his clip this afternoon or this evening. So getting back to Joy. So we can see how my line is a little bit here, there, and everywhere, right? So we're going to just come back, sort it out a little bit. And go up a little bit more. Again, if you need to pull the skin to get a good line, you can do that. Good. Hair doesn't want to clip. Sometimes the hair doesn't want to clip, and so you've got to sort of just change the angle of your blade. Right. And then you keep going up the neck. Along that line. So you can see I still have some parts back here that I would neaten up by either moving my clippers like this. And that actually is just where the hair isn't lying down. That's actually not a line. So for this clip, again, I'd cut out the legs from here down. I'd leave the stripe. I'd do her elbow like we did on Lucky. And then I'd finish up her belly. And then she would get